I scaled this tactical products-based e-commerce brand to $78,343 per month in revenue exclusively using Google Ads. And in this video, I'm going to show you how I made it happen step by step. Now, before I actually deep dive into the actual strategy and nitty-gritty details, I want to take a step back to kind of explain to you how we even started working with this brand and what the overall situation was from the start. Now, we started working with this brand back in August of 2024. August 5th is officially when we signed on this brand under my Google Ads agency or marketing. And since then, from August 6th essentially to today when I'm recording this video on March 19th, we have been able to scale this brand to $371,000 in total revenue. And in the grand scheme of things, that might not seem like a lot, but before we actually began work with this brand, there were a lot of grave issues that were going on within this brand, which was causing this brand not only to lose a lot of profit on the top funnel level, but also to just consistently waste ad spend on a monthly basis towards inefficient strategies. Now, this brand specifically, as I mentioned earlier, sells tactical products, things such as, for example, this product right here, or maybe outdoor products just in general, which you can use when you're in the outdoors, out about in the wild essentially. So this brand has very decent search volume. However, it is more of a seasonal brand because during times like the winter season, when not as many people are outdoors, this brand actually becomes extremely slow and it's quite difficult to scale this brand overall, which is why if you will look right here, during the time period from August 6th to March 18th, if we look on a weekly basis, it has been fairly on the lower end, basically going into September, October, November, December. But in the recent time period, especially since January and February of this year, things have started to pick back up. And that's simply because this is the main peak time for this brand when it actually starts to perform extremely well. Now, with this brand specifically in terms of the actual results in January to today, which is March 18th, what we can see is we've been running this brand at a 3.60x ROAS. The break-even ROAS for this brand is roughly a 3x. And the average order value for this brand is not really a high-ticket brand. It's roughly $63. And in any given month, it hovers between $60 to $70. So it's more on the mid-ticket side of things. However, when we first began working with this brand, if we look all the way back to before we even started working with this brand, so for example, let's say February of 2024, we will actually see that the results seem a lot better than what they were at now. For example, it looks like it did $131,000 in the month of February alone. In March of 2024, it started to drop essentially, which was very unique for this brand because keep in mind, this brand does better starting March, April, May. So when I took a bit of a deeper look into this brand when we first audited this account, here's what I saw. I saw that in total, these conversion value metric that they were seeing right here, they had been very heavily inflated before, because if we look right here, conversion tracking was officially fixed in the month of March. However, all this time period before that they had been running ads, it had essentially been double tracking these sales via two different tracking conversion events. So essentially, anytime it hit this value, it was basically divided by two, what the real numbers were. And this had caused a very big issue for this brand because this brand had been running ads since about 2020. So since 2020 to basically 2024, almost 4 years worth of data was double tracked. And this meant a lot of this was invaluable data. We had to essentially start from scratch when we began in August of 2024. But that's when they realized the mistake basically in March of 2024. And that's when they really started to try and change everything up, the entire strategy. But as we can see here in July, those sales kept dropping and dropping, which is why we essentially began work with this brand. Now, when we first began work, just like what we do for any given brand, we like to start from the ground up, the foundation up. And what we did here is basically we wanted to first do a little bit of competitor research to understand what we were even dealing with. So for instance, with a product like this, what we came to realize back when we started running ads for this brand is, number one, there was a lot of competition in general, because if you look right here, there were a lot of good brands with things that they had going on right for them. Like for example, brands with the reviews, brands with certain types of sales, brands with promotions going on, and high quality brands that too, when you went on their landing pages, you saw just the amount of effort that they had put into designing their landing pages. I mean, this kind of approach is what the audience within this niche wants to see. So we were already dealing with pretty established brands, and we needed to find a way to not only stand out from the competitors on the ad side of things, but to also give a better experience overall to the user once they actually came about onto the website itself. So essentially what we started to work with was basically from the ground up. In this situation, we noticed that there were a lot of drop shippers as well as normal brand owners selling these similar products. But the number one thing that they were doing wrong is that majority of these products and the brands in general, they were blending in with each other. I mean, if you just look right here, majority of these products simply blend in because it's all looking the same. Plain white background image with a product in the front. Some of these products are tilted to one direction, and some of these have the person wearing the product. So essentially, when we saw this, we understood that the best way to stand out within this niche as a whole, not just with these products, is to have more of a lifestyle approach to our product. So what we did first and foremost is, instead of just having somebody standing there, maybe wearing the product on a plain white background or maybe a simple dark background like this, we decided to help the clients and guide them towards taking photos of somebody wearing the product out in the wild, out in nature, where you see the green grass in the back, you see some trees, but the product and the user wearing the product is the number one focus. And this was when the brand really started to scale beyond the levels we wanted to. I mean, if you look right here, from August 5th to September 6th, we had done $59,000 at a 2.82x ROAS value. And then from September 6th basically to October 6th, we started to kind of steadily increase the overall approaches that we were doing, mostly focus on the return on ad spend, because keep in mind, the break-even ROAS for this brand is a 3x. So all this time previously, this brand had been running at below break-even ROAS values. And what we also knew was October, November, December were not going to be the best months for this brand in terms of the overall revenue. So we wanted to really keep things a bit steady and focus on the ROAS, keeping it around the 3x levels before we really start to ramp up things. And come January, come February, that's when we really started to kind of focus more on the revenue side of things, because in the last 30 days alone, we have already been able to scale up to $78,000 at a 6.19x ROAS. So all this previous months that we were working with this brand, that was more of just to keep things stable and to ensure that the brand doesn't go in the loss in some of the worst months out there. But along with the product feed approach here in terms of the product image, we also took this time during the low season to focus on things like keyword research for better product titles. And I always say this, the perfect product title is one that has high perceived value keywords in the start, followed by jamming some SEO keywords in the middle. You could have between 1 to 7 different SEO keywords or more in the middle, and then at the very end you ended up with a branded approach by adding your brand name at the very end, just like this brand did right here, where they added their brand name at the very end. But we restructured the product titles for majority of these products that this brand has during this time, and we wanted to actually focus on doing more things which help us stand out rather than just doing what majority of the other competitors had already done. This meant we actually had to remove the reviews for Google Shopping, at least for these products, because in this situation, that was the only way to stand out. If you look right here, the brand that's standing out is the one without any reviews, whereas these other brands, it's sort of just blending in with each other. And this might sound a little bit backwards, but more often than not, you'll have to find ways to stand out from competitors, and you will have to cut things in order to truly stand out from the crowd, which is essentially what we ended up doing here. But what we knew during the start with this brand also was that this brand was also getting a lot of traffic from Facebook, TikTok, that a lot of email marketing going on. They were also doing proper SEO techniques for organic traffic, and they just had this beautiful funnel in place. So what we focused on during the low season is more on the retargeting side of things. We wanted to really keep that retargeting traffic coming in. So as you can see right here with the campaign strategies, we had a mixture of standard shopping along with performance max campaigns and a few demand gen and discovery campaigns during that time period as well. It was more for the remarketing side of things. But overall, in terms of the campaign strategy, what we did and what we are currently doing is we wanted to keep things fairly simple and fairly straightforward without introducing a lot of overlap. So if you look right here, right now we have a total of 10 different campaigns running, but majority of these campaigns are search campaigns, because what we found out within this niche is search campaigns do extremely well. I mean, if you look right here, majority of the sales are coming from search campaigns as well, whereas performance max and standard shopping are actually second and third place. Now, with the search campaign side of things, we kept the strategy fairly simple. We just wanted to go after some of the broader keywords while keeping things a little bit more direct as well. So if you look right here, the main strategy we implemented for search was between exact match keywords and phrase match keywords. And these keywords, we didn't just pull them out of thin air. We actually used the insight section from with the previous data to figure out what the best keyword strategy should be. Now, most brands go wrong here because they go into the keyword planner tool, find a bunch of random keywords to target, and I believe that's not the right approach because number one, you don't know if those keywords work for your brand or not, and number two, you're going to end up just guessing random bids to rank for those keywords, and in most situations, your bid might be too low or it might be too high, causing you to not be as efficient with the ad spend. This is what I see with a lot of the brands we work with usually when we start working with them, which, by the way, if you run a brand doing 50,000 or more per month in revenue, you need some extra help scaling to the next level with Google Ads. Go on to my website at yourmarketing.com and schedule a completely free call with me, and let's see how we can potentially work together and make that happen. But we kept the search campaign strategy based around different types of product collections, and we wanted to also give dynamic search campaigns a little bit of a test as well. So that's essentially what these search campaigns are right here. But along with that, with the Performance Max campaign strategy itself, we are basically segregating out the products based on the collection. There's nothing too crazy here, nothing unique. It's just product segregation based on collections, and we're trying to basically keep overall number of products within each of these campaigns fairly short. I mean, there's not a lot of products and SKUs to begin with within this brand, but overall, as you can see, there's only 52 different SKUs here, and we're doing this because we want to ensure that all of these products have sufficient amount of ad spend that they need to truly scale it, which is why if you look right here, the ROAS values are way above a 3x for majority of these products, which are doing well. And we're applying the 80-20 rule in terms of budget and bid restriction. So what that essentially means is about 80% of these campaigns have certain restrictions on them, whether it's a target CPA based restriction, target ROAS based restriction, etc. And 20% of these campaigns have no restriction on them. We have not given it a target ROAS or target CPA at all, so that it can go after the right kinds of audiences and expand into different markets, which is essentially what we need to scale this brand to the very next level. But that's essentially how we are scaling in terms of the campaign strategies. Now, overall, as the campaigns are developing, as they are becoming smarter and smarter, and we can see because the ROAS values have gone up significantly from that 3x to the last 30 days 5.88x ROAS just for PMAX campaigns, but a 6.19x ROAS on the account level. What we are doing essentially now is we're lowering the amount of campaign types we are adding, so we're reducing horizontal scale to now focus more on vertical scale, as well as scaling the product foundations and the product feed. Now, what that means is essentially going into the insight section regularly every 7, 14, 21 days and using the keywords that are getting ranked here, basically the winning keywords, to make our backends better, and then to figure out which competitors are starting to come up, which competitors are doing better, to then also improve our landing page experience based around that. But in addition to the insight section right here, we are essentially going into the current running campaigns and increasing budgets if it's doing well by rewarding it, and decreasing restrictions as well along with it. That's simply all we're doing for vertical scaling, but only every 7 to 14 days. And as you can see now, because as we are optimizing the back end and it's paving the path to a bigger audience pool, almost every campaign here is limited by budget because things are actually starting to do extremely well, and Google is now starting to force us to increase the budget, which is exactly what you want to see. And when things are this profitable, when we're at a 6.18x ROAS, it becomes very easy to now increase the budgets, which, by the way, most brands do this wrong, where they're trying to increase budgets when the scale is not necessarily there, at least it's not there for the long term. So you want to ensure that the revenue and the ROAS is so good at this point of time that Google is the one actually telling you to increase your budgets, because these campaigns are starting to overspend its daily limits. But that's essentially the long-term approach and long-term view for this brand overall. Now, if you run again a brand doing 50,000 or more per month in revenue, you need some extra help scaling to the very next level with Google Ads. Go onto my website at yourmarketing.com and schedule a completely free call with me, and let's see how we can potentially work together and make that happen.